Will Biden's culture of corruption reopen under GOP management? Rumors suggest that will be so. In tonight's preamble. Question: would you donate to a party that is dedicated to keeping Biden's failures going? That's something to ponder if you donate to the RNC. I'll explain more on that in a minute. Many in the leadership of the Democrat Party, in the meantime, they believe in socialism. They advocate socialism. They push socialist policies. Those who thought they were electing a moderate in Joe Biden were sadly mistaken and disappointed. His regime, run by the equivalent of children, has dished out widespread damage to Americans and so much benefit to America's enemies and foreign nationals. In fact, if an alien from outer space were dropped into the United States and asked what Joe Biden's job was and what the qualifications were, he'd likely say that Joe Biden was elected to harm his own people, attack his own people, promote crime against his own people, promote illegal immigration, economic calamity, and a lower quality of life for his people, while simultaneously ensuring that America's enemies get everything they want and foreign nationals are able to exploit the American taxpayer at will. The spaceman would also conclude, after seeing Joe Biden in action, that the objective of the voters of the United States was to elect the most incompetent, mentally deranged, evil man we could find. Case in point, here's Joe Biden yesterday, not able to remember the administration he served in before his current occupation of the Oval Office.
I started the cancer moonshot, which I worked very hard on in the administration I served in last.
For the record, he served in President Barack Hussein Obama's failed administration. Further validating our space traveler's observation, here's Joe Biden claiming his dad was driven nuts by that child tax credit that exists in the U.S. tax code.
Think about it. It was well intended originally when the child care tax credit, when the child tax credit existed early on, because you said, well, we got to give a break for raising kids. But I remember it used to drive my dad nuts because we had 4 kids. It was a lot less. It was less than $1,000 then. But, you know, if you're making what was $12,000 a year, that was like making 40 now or 50. If you're making that kind of money, you didn't have any taxes you could deduct it from.
Boy, that's a good story, bro. It's just complete malarkey. Child tax credit didn't exist, according to our sources, until 1997. Unless Joe's daddy was taking care of then Senator Biden, which is entirely possible given how much of a screw-up Biden has been his entire career, Joe Biden's daddy wasn't in a position to take advantage of the tax credit. Another lie by Joe Biden. So Joe Biden's loss of mental acuity, check. Joe Biden's penchant for lying, check. What about Joe Biden's hatred of those who disagree with him? Here was dear leader bragging about how he handled a GOP woman who simply asked Biden to do his job early in his career.
I got a call one night. A woman said to me, obviously not of the same persuasion as I was politically, called me and said, there's a dead dog on my lawn. And I said, yes, ma'am. I said, have you called the county? He said, yes, they're not here. And I said, well, I'll get them in the morning. She said, I want it removed now. I pay your salary. So I went over. I picked it up. She said, I want it out of my front yard. I put it on her doorstep.
Okay, that is one sick puppy. Biden, not the dog. Now, you'd think that the opposition party, the Republicans, would want to be as far apart from Joe Biden as possible. You'd think that Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, if their objective was to win and chart a different course for America, they'd be committed to making sure they don't emulate the Democrats' values or lack thereof in any way. Sadly, it looks like the GOP is poised to keep Joe Biden's corruption going just under new management. If and when the GOP wins the House in November, rumor has it that Kevin McCarthy is poised to appoint Texas Congresswoman Kay Granger as chairwoman of the powerful House Appropriations Committee. Her only qualification is that she's been sponging off the taxpayers for a quarter century. There are myriad Republicans who are far more qualified and have the proper temperament and maturity to handle that job. Unlike Granger, these conservatives would put the taxpayer first and run appropriations in a fiscally sound and pro-American manner. However, Kevin McCarthy appears to be bypassing those good conservatives for Granger, a Republican squish. As you all know, Joe Biden has committed to forcing all Americans, including Christians, Jews, and Muslims, into funding abortions. In one MSNBC interview, Granger stated, quote, "I am a pro-choice Republican," end quote. Will Granger appropriate money working with her pals, the Democrats, to force people of faith and conscience to fund the filthy and disgusting practice of abortion on demand? Did Kevin McCarthy choose Kay Granger because she's a whiz with saving the taxpayers' money? No. A massive flood control project along the Trinity River in Fort Worth, Texas, known as the Panther Island Project, has cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars and is projected to cost hundreds of millions more if it is to be completed in the next decade. This taxpayer-funded boondoggle had been led by J.D. Granger, son of the longtime Congresswoman Kay Granger. Now, when I say boondoggle, my friends, I'm not being rhetorical. Original cost estimates for this project were $435 million. Conservative estimates now project the cost will be over $1.2 billion, nearly 3 times the proposed amount. And here's more bad news for taxpayers. In January, Kay Granger joined hands with a left-wing extremist Democrat Congressman Mark Vesey as they announced that taxpayers were on the hook for an additional $403 million to finance this money pit project. The project has been going on since 2006 and shows no signs of completion, only constant cost overruns paid for by taxpayers who may be getting what they deserve for electing politicians like Granger. But here's the kick in the teeth, my friends. Just like Joe Biden takes care of his kid using taxpayer dollars, well, Kay Granger does the same. As of 2020, the Panther Island project was stuck in the design phase. Remember, it was started in 2006. Now, who was in charge drawing big money for family Granger? Well, you guessed it, her son, J.D. Granger, getting paid a handsome salary. So I suppose you folks in the 12th District in Texas can rest easy. Sure, Kay Granger will be a partner with Democrats' efforts to raise your taxes. Sure, she's already wasted millions of your tax dollars and is poised to waste even more. Sure, she works hand in glove with a party that pushes socialism to do more economic damage to our people. But be assured, North Texas, Kay Granger's son is well paid and doing just fine, while the rest of you struggle to make ends meet out there. And really, isn't the care and feeding of our corrupt politicians and their families more important to all of you out there than your own family's financial security? We all know the damage being done to America is because of and at the behest of extremists on the left. We also know there are alleged Republicans who place their relationships with Democrats in the swamp above delivering responsible government and a higher quality of life for their constituents. Hopefully, individual districts around America will deal with their own Kay Grangers by voting them out of office. To future Speaker Kevin McCarthy, I say this. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Kay Granger is the embodiment of failures of our past that have led to our uncertain future. Mr. McCarthy, I implore you, don't make your first act as Speaker an act that upholds the failed status quo. Right now, Kay Granger is a problem for North Texas only. If you make her chairwoman of the powerful Appropriations Committee, she and all of her corruption becomes America's problem. And Congressman McCarthy, doesn't America have enough problems with Democrats and their promotion of socialism? Do we need the Republicans to pile on? Not to put too fine a point on this, Mr. McCarthy, but you'd be elected to fix Biden's corruption, not continue it. Now, we have extended an invite to Congressman McCarthy to come onto this show, talk to us about ways to heal this rift between the Republican Party and conservatives. But know this, if Kay Granger, who has more in common with Joe Biden than she does your liberty-loving Latino, is put in charge of appropriations, she will be a rich target not only for the biased press, but for this program too. We will run continued features on Joe Biden's culture of corruption being run by Republicans in the United States House. America deserves better than the good time rock and roller crew that got us into this mess to begin with.